Okay, everyone, welcome back to more Ori. That's one match down, and I think 7 more to go today. We have this block of like 7 games in a row, and then one more later tonight. But we have another one for you here. My name on commentary is Gramelios, and I'm joined by Zik. How are you, Zik?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. Do you want to introduce the match we have?
Sure. So today we have qqstafoo versus Dileira. qqstafoo has a personal best of 31.03 in Ori, while Dileira has a personal best of 33.27. So they're very close in times, but I wouldn't, in the low 30s, anything's possible. So I think we're going to have a really good match today.
Right, that's the thing, is once you reach a certain skill level in Ori, your execution, or like getting these, low 30s, 31, 32s, is just down to executing everything perfectly. And given race nerves, any one of those tricks goes wrong, and that's plenty of space for that, roughly 2 whatever minute gap between their PVs. Some other little pieces of information. They're both playing on keyboard mouse, so we don't have to deal with KBM versus controller discrepancies. This is qqstafoo's first match in the tournament. It's the second overall match out of the Sunken Glades group, but qqstafoo, it's his first. Dileira, it's his second, and he did win his first match against Skull, so already off to a strong start.
We consider going for very similar tricks, similar amounts of health cells, so it's going to be very similar on both sides of the race here.
That's right. We're going to be getting started very shortly. We have our SRL timer sort of counting down. We're going to wait for a bit of delay to go by. God, I love that Kuro transition. Big shout outs, as always, to some of the behind the scenes guys who made much of this production value possible. Really, Terra and Hobbs are the two big names there, but we'll be getting this going right about now. Good luck in advance, even though neither can hear me. One other thing I'll point out as we get going here is that neither of our runners are watching each other. That's something that's a lot of runners opt to do. Like, Zik, do you like to watch your opponents in races like this?
I usually don't. I usually like to just kind of focus on what I'm doing and not let it get to me.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think that's the same attitude that these two have. And Dileira also mentioned just before the match that he's going to not be watching his time either, which I think is a very, very good idea. It can help take a lot of stress off because you're kind of going to do the run you're going to do anyway.
Right.
It's easier to not focus on it. Anyway, anything particularly special that we might expect out of the early game?
Nothing too, spectacular, nothing too major, just some simple movement from Ori. They're coming down here to collect sign, and both runners are very close here at the beginning. Both had excellent movement right off the start.
Right. Both qqstafoo and Dileira are very top-tier runners. I mean, that time of 31.03 by qqstafoo is really, really good. It's sort of something we've mentioned in some other matches. Any runner can get down into the 34 or even 33 range with just nice, clean movement, no deaths, and getting maybe first or second try on all the major tricks. But to get down to some of the times that qqstafoo has, you really need to work on the small optimizations. It's not that Dileira doesn't do those optimizations either, but I guess the point is that I expect this to be a very, very close match. These are two very high-level players. It is also interesting to note, Dileira on the right, I believe, used to go for an older route when he first started running this game. He used to do the water route where you go up to the top of the Ginsu tree and finish the escape, but that route has been made obsolete given recent developments in Ori, and so now he's going for the most recent route. Dileira did have a bit of trouble with the little slime in the rock. That's going to give qqstafoo just a few seconds at the start, but as we always like to say, these leads at the start don't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, as you start developing and getting more skills throughout the game, the tricks get more and more difficult, and movement can just get more and more optimized, and you can just see small little movement tech gain you a lot of time in the late game.
That's right. This is interesting and something I was not aware of. I really should have been. Dileira is deciding to skip the 4th health cell. We talk about health a lot in this run. When you do the most recent route, you end up having poison water in the final escape, which means that throughout the whole run, you need to eventually get at least 5 health in order to survive. But you can get that 5 health in different ways. You can even get 6 if you want to. So I know that qqstafoo is going to be going for 5 health total, and he already has 4. Whereas Dileira is deciding to skip that 4th health cell, which is going to give him an early lead, but it's sort of a debt that Dileira is going to have to pay back later, not only with additional time to get at least 2 health cells later on, but with a much more dangerous run since he has 1 fewer health than qqstafoo does. We're heading over to wall jump here. Wall jump is a nice, fun skill. Not too complicated. Would you agree?
Right.
Yeah. It's
But
always
it
fun
opens
trying
up a lot of nice movement through being able to climb the walls and get over different gaps much faster.
You could say that it adds some. What's the word I'm looking for? I think it's verticality. That's the one.
Ooh.
Yeah. As always, we'll be jumping off to the left to grab our second energy cell. Energy is another important resource in Ori. You can use it to execute certain tricks and also make save points. Many save points you'll make for safety and peace of mind, but many of them you'll also just make in order to facilitate various cutscene skips and save anywheres and other silly speedrun tricks. Dileira on the right, again, having a little bit of trouble with these jumps. Let's see if it gets Trojan logged. Nope, Trojan did not claim another soul today. And so stavoo is going to take another early lead, and this early lead by stavoo, it's still not too much for Dileira to worry about, but it's interesting because Dileira also saved 8 seconds by skipping the 4th health cell, which means that stavoo's real lead here is actually kind of a hair more than it looks like. Anyway, what can we expect out of our next few areas?
So the runners are both moving on here to Black Group Burrows. This is going to be where they're heading next, and this can be a very tricky section. Very risky for runners. It can be very easy to die or miss certain cycles. So we might see Dileira get that lead back in this area. We might see stavoo take off a little bit.
Anything could happen. I also want to point out, stavoo decided to take a quick detour and grab a 15 experience orb. And that 15 experience orb is just unusual. It's not something that you see most players go through, and it could be indicative of a pretty interesting route. It looks like stavoo is going for slime genocide. Zick, how familiar are you with slime genocide?
I'm not familiar at all with this, actually. This is interesting.
Well, my goodness, let me tell you about slime genocide. I'll weave you a tale. There are multiple ways to do your experience. The experience route for Ori has evolved over time in a number of ways. Most runners go for the experience route that you see them go for. You sort of take the same orbs and you kill the same slimes, and it puts you roughly in the same spot. It turns out that there is a route through Black Group Burrows known as Slime Genocide, where you grab that 15 experience orb and you also take out a whole bunch of slimes with magnet and try to grab all of their experience. And if you do Slime Genocide correctly, as with anything in a speedrun, you do it because it saves you time. But the scary part is that it's not easy to, it's just not easy to do the experience route properly. It's something that I didn't know that stavoo is going for, and I'll be curious to see if he has any issues with it. Plus, I mean, you have a trick that's called Slime Genocide, and as far as trick names go, I think that's pretty fun.
It's good enough on its own.
stavoo on the left still has an early lead. With Slime Genocide, he's taking out all of these slimes, many of which we will probably see Dileira go ahead and just leave to sort of crawl around their little walls as slimes seem fit to do. And stavoo was able to manipulate the platforms in this dash room as well. Just a very, very clean game so far. stavoo has his lead sort of based on Dileira just having a handful of small issues with little bits of
Dileira missing the platform manipulation.
You can see him wiggling his mouse there. That's a way that it's a way that runners like to communicate that something went wrong. Sometimes you'll even see runners like spell things out with the mouse, but it can be difficult to read it sometimes. Oh, to recap everyone, especially anyone who may be new since we're on the main speed gaming channel, what is this trick that stavoo's doing on the left with the menu?
So what stavoo's doing right now is he's basically skipping a cutscene. Basically, whenever you're doing, you can pull up the skill menu, and we're using a trick called Save Anywhere, where when you level up a skill, the game gets saved. So if you level up a skill right when a cutscene begins, the game saves right when the game will say that the cutscene has already been watched. So then you can reload the game and completely bypass all the cutscenes.
That's right. stavoo on the left still with the lead is working his way out of Black Group Burrows. You can still see him taking out a bunch of slimes. I wonder if we'll see stavoo decide to toggle his user interface on for a moment. For anyone unfamiliar, the reason why there's no UI on screen, it isn't like a cinematic choice by the developers or anything. It's a code you can use in game, like a cheat code to disable the UI. And the reason that you do that is that it automatically skips all dialogue without having to mash, which is not only easier and more cinematic, but it does save time. We're going to see in a moment whether stavoo's experience was correct, as he's going to be killing this frog right up near the top at this 4 energy door. He's going to use his maximum of 2 energy and the refill from leveling up to open this door. Looks like he may have gotten a 10% drop bonus energy too. Nice.
Excellent. Let's see if Dileira can also get the Frankie walk here.
Yep, that we will see. And oh my goodness, qqstafoo is just making very short work of this whole freaking game. He's doing feather cancels. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Dileira, take out his frog. Did he also get an energy drop?
I believe so, yes.
Oh my god, that's 2 10% energy drops. That's like a 0.110. It's a tiny, tiny percent chance to see it from both runners. Ignore my math. I'm a commentator, not a math-tator. What is qqstafoo doing?
Getting the grotto cycle here on the left.
You're gonna have to take over. So bad, I'm just out of commission for the next 5 minutes. That death by qqstafoo was intentional. There's a trick in this game known as a ghost door where you can die in a handful of places after making a save and skip a door opening animation. It's a trick you'll see a few times. Yeah, man, Dileira on the right did miss his early crusher cycle. That's going to lose him about 8 seconds, and he's already behind.
So qqstafoo here on the left doing a little bit of blind movement from the skill tree. Using the save anywhere, whenever you get that skill, you can kind of skip the cutscene where you obtain the skill, but you have to play the game blind for a couple seconds.
Oh man,
that Frankie.
That's going to bring qqstafoo down to 2 health. He should be fine. He doesn't need the additional health. It's just another sort of consideration. You have to make sure that you don't take damage. qqstafoo is making his way to Grotto Skip, which is a precise jump. Wow!
Excellent.
My god, this is really interesting. qqstafoo is someone who, interestingly, actually lives very, very close to me. He's like 10 minutes from my apartment. We've done in-person commentary in the past, and so I know he was very active with Ori. He started about a year ago after Sigma's Oreo run at last AGDQ, but hasn't really been active with Ori for a long time. So I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if qqstafoo was going to be very rusty, and the answer is a resounding no.
It does not look like it at all.
Right, qqstafoo actually set his current PB of 31.03 only 14 days ago, whereas Dileira set his PB of 33.27 only 3 days ago. So we have some very skilled and very active, unrusty runners, and as expected, we're just seeing qqstafoo just bend this forest to his will. It's super cool to watch.
Dileira getting a first try grotto skip as well on the right. So we're still seeing a very close race here.
We are. I would expect to continue seeing a close race. qqstafoo is still in the lead, and especially because Dileira is going to have to pick up 2 additional health cells later. That's even a small amount of additional time that qqstafoo is going to know that he's going to have in the future. qqstafoo is making it through some of these spikes. He's going to be quickly working his way towards the first dungeon of the game, as always. Along the way, he'll be stopping up on top of a log to grab an ability cell, because I believe this qqstafoo goes for Terror Break rather than Crazy Juggle. Do you want to, I guess, very briefly describe the difference between those two and why it matters? Between Crazy Juggle and Terror Break?
Sure. So later in the run, they're going to be using a trick to break through one of the roofs in Sorrow Pass, and using Terror Break, you can use a save anywhere and charge jump into spikes to break through the roof. Whereas using Crazy Jungle, you perform stomp cancels after charge dashing at a frog, but you're going to need the energy to be doing some of these abilities to break through. So they're going to be collecting a lot of ability cells to make sure they have the abilities they need to do those tricks later in the run.
That's right, and one of those ability cells is the one that we already saw qqstafoo got, and we see Dileira picking up right now, but enough about that. Both of those tricks come way later in the run, and we'll touch back on them later. Right now, qqstafoo has made it into the Ginso tree. Can you say a hair about maybe what's challenging about this area?
So what can be challenging about the Ginso tree is, well, for one, ideally you'd like to get through here without dying, because there can be a little bit of a camera glitch you can run into in the Ginso tree. And but mainly just there's a lot of cycles you need to hit here in the Ginso tree, and honestly, the faster you move, the easier things get. And qqstafoo taking a hit on that spider, gonna stop for a quick health cell, and another hit on the spikes in this teleporter room.
These spikes have Ori's name on it. They're They have like a gravity effect. They're just drawing in Ori's little leaf body to touch this like, and that's why. But a very valuable safety save from qqstafoo. What's interesting about that safety save in particular, with another death, that's giving Dileira the time that he needs to catch up in another one.
He's having a lot of trouble in this teleport room.
Maybe we should quiet down and not curse him. I believe in you, qqstafoo. I would send you energy, but apparently that makes things worse. So qqstafoo did have a very, very solid lead, but with those deaths got set back several times, and based on some unoptimal movement through that sort of tricky teleporter section that Dileira's in right now, actually missed a cycle on this shooty little flower as well. So that's, as we mentioned at the start of this match, qqstafoo on paper is favored to win based on his PB being 2 minutes and 24 seconds faster. But when you're this good, from either runner, when you're this good, these little mistakes can make all the difference.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how just missing one small cycle for a couple seconds can really change the course of the entire race.
It can, and this mini boss could be another example of a not a lead change, but a potential time loss or gain. qqstafoo made it through very, very quickly. You are seeing Dileira do what I believe is scroll wheel shooting. Most KBM runners opt to use scroll wheel to scroll and get 2 shots off in very, very quick succession. It allows you to get as much DPS as you possibly can on that mini boss. But Dileira made it through very, very cleanly as well. I don't know offhand who had more or fewer cycles, but it was very, very clean from both sides. So can you remind everyone what Bash is and why it may or may not be the best skill in the game?
So Bash is going to give these players abilities to kind of stop time on an enemy and throw them in a direction, which then can launch Ori in the opposite direction. So it's going to open up a lot of really cool movement. And you may see these runners going for what's known as double bashing, where they can bash off an enemy and bash off them again 1 frame later to throw themselves and the enemy in the same direction. So you'll be seeing a lot of cool movement from these runners coming forward using bash.
That's right. And double bashing is a trick that is possible on really any input device, but it is much, much easier on keyboard mouse due to, let's just say, due to reasons. But thankfully, we have no input discrepancy here. Both Dileira and qqstafoo are on KBM, which means that they both have the availability of double bashes if they so choose. And qqstafoo is using those double bashes to great effect right now and is able to pull off a perfectly clean key dupe, whereas Dileira was not. Zik, what just went wrong with Dileira's key dupe? Why did it fail? If you were able to catch that on the right side. Well, I'll go ahead and answer my own question. Basically, for anyone unfamiliar, the key dupe glitch requires that you die in those spikes, but you have to die in a very specific location in those spikes, as far right as you can possibly go. And so what you'll see a lot of runners do is exactly what we saw qqstafoo do so cleanly, which is jump up into the air and sort of fall off to the right and land just touching the wall on the spikes. It's something that qqstafoo got very, very well first try, and Dileira missed, which is actually a pretty costly time save. To give everyone an idea of some of the time deltas, to give more concrete numbers about who's in the lead. Back at the entrance of Ginso Tree, qqstafoo had about a 50-second lead, but due to some of those mistakes in the Ginso Tree, that lead dropped to only about 15 seconds at Bash. Right now, it's going to be a little bit more than that because Dileira missed his key dupe, so that's going to give qqstafoo more of a lead, but man, this is sort of a wild game so far. qqstafoo is playing out of his mind.
qqstafoo going for a little more of blind movement here. Taking a small hit, it looks like.
That's right. Oh, what is the trick that qqstafoo's doing on the right? Or left, excuse me.
So qqstafoo is going to be entering Swamp early right now, and...
Unbelievable.
Wow, so... You're aiming to bash this frog shot to break this roof so you can break into Swamp a little early, because we do not have the Stomp ability yet. And we saw a tragic mishap on qqstafoo's screen where this shot went through the roof.
I want to emphasize that when that happens, when you're doing that trick, the frog can go through the floor or the shot can go through the floor. Neither one is anything to do with the player. It's just some sort of, it's a rare bit of wonky hit detection by Ori. I don't know why it happens. Maybe
Dileira here on the right getting the shot through the floor.
Yeah. Well, qqstafoo has made it to Stomp. So good job by him making it through that swamp entry trick. It's sort of notoriously difficult, especially because it's one of the newer tricks in the run comparatively to something like Sarabash. Anyway, so we have Stomp now. You're going to see Stafoo on the left, who is still in the lead, exiting out right back the same way he came in. We used to have to do a interesting trick, taking a dip in the poison water. We used to have to do an interesting trick known as Drainless to get out of this area, which I'm kind of sad was phased out of the run, to be honest, because it's a fun trick. But we don't have to do it anymore. So Stafoo, opting to not make a safety save, is going to try to use this same frog with some nice double bashing, and he saved it. Nicely done. That frog can be a little bit slippery, I think. But we're coming up on a cutscene skip, which I think I'll throw to you again, Zick.
Sure. So these runners are going for what is known as Kuro cutscene skip, and basically, there is just a small vertical strip in this corridor coming up, which is the trigger for the cutscene. And there's a frog in that corridor, which you can bash off his projectile at the right time to get through the corridor without triggering the cutscene.
That's right, and it is ultra precise. It has to be one of the most precise tricks in this run. Not the hardest, really, but like it's just so precise. It's so precise.
It's very
made it look easy.
Nice seeing Stafoo get that easily right there. We'll see if Dileira can get it the same.
I hope that he can, because it's a pretty long cutscene. It takes about 17 seconds, which means that if Dileira misses it, he's already at a deficit compared to Stafoo. And if Dileira can get this cutscene skip, then he'll be on even footing. If not, he's going to lose additional time. One other interesting thing about it, okay, well, I was about to say, if you miss the trick, it is actually still faster, assuming you made a safety save nearby, which Dileira did. It's still faster to exit and reload and try the trick one more time, assuming you get it. But that does assume that you get it, and Dileira just decided to say, enough is enough, we're just going to take the time loss and continue on to more fun tricks.
As we said, though, the movement really picks up here towards the end of the game, and it's still anybody's race at this point.
That's right, and we've talked about how Stafoo is on just insane pace. Remember that Stafoo's PB is about 2 minutes faster than Dileira, so it's not unexpected necessarily to see Stafoo with a lead, but even given that deficit, Stafoo is playing very, very well. He's playing so well that Stafoo is actually on PB pace. And it's interesting because before this race started, Stafoo told me that between his Stomp Split and Charge Flame being the last skill that he picked up, he had like 35 seconds to save.
Wow.
And so, yeah, and so apparently he did save, if not 35 seconds, at least enough to be on PB pace. And Stafoo's PB is also really, really good. So I don't want to jinx anything, even though I probably already have, but we may see the legendary race PB from Stafoo. But we're coming up on another precise trick. Speaking of precision tricks, what is this one about, Zick?
So Stafoo's going to be going for a trick called Fast Stompless. And basically, he's going to be bashing this spider projectile to break the rocks above Kuro's head, which you'd normally have to go up and stomp down. Instead, he's going to be redirecting the shot to go all the way up there to hit it. And while it's traveling, he's going to be coming down to get a ability cell.
That's right. Shout outs to our production crew with that sick replay. That's something I'm very, very proud that our community has been able to put together. I say our community. I'm very, very proud that like Hobbs was able to put it together. So GG Hobbs. Things on the left for Stafoo are about to get even crazier. He's already been playing like a god, making this game look absolutely free. And let's see if he can continue taking his not only an attempt at Sour Bash, but a very quick and first try attempt at Sour Bash. Stafoo, you absolute madman. I'm going to go buy you pizza after this. You deserve it. My God.
That was absolutely beautiful.
And he's not done yet. We're going to see all kinds of rocket jumps as Stafoo moves his way through, picking up bonus energy. To direct your attention quickly to the right, though, Dileira is taking his attempt at Fast Stompless. Remember, this trick is very precise. It requires not only a precise bash angle on the spider projectile, but getting this ability cell fast enough because you do need it. Good job by Dileira. I believe he got the ability cell. If I'm wrong about that, then I'll eat those words. But I believe that he got it. So good job by Dileira.
Yes, Dileira did get the ability cell, so all is good.
It's when runners get the Fast Stompless trick, meaning that they hit the rocks with the projectile, but they don't get the cell, we generally call that sad cellless, and it's sad because it loses you a lot of time. All of the experience and, by extension, the ability cells in this run are very tightly routed, and so if you miss that ability cell, you're in a, well, not a place that you want to be. You're in time loss land. So we have exciting things, as always, happening on both sides. Stafoo is going to do a quick trick known as Terror Break. It's not a hard trick. You just sort of have to make sure that you make your save in the right spot, which Stafoo did just fine, and he's going to go ahead and carry a save anywhere up. On the right, though, Dileira's going for his Sorrow Bash attempts. That bird looks a hair low. Thankfully, didn't hit the spikes. Stafoo was able to pull this off first try, and Dileira got it first try.
Excellent first try.
Yeah. When you do that trick, Zik, do you do double bashers or do you do a different method?
I'm a controller player, so I usually don't go for the double bash. But
Right there with
we
you.
have both keyboard mouse players here. Double bashing is a lot more feasible for them.
It definitely is, and it's really nice to see Dileira not only make it through that death's fine, not only make it through, but make it up through the barricade correctly, getting his rocket jumps without touching the spikes. Remember that all of these spikes in the Sun Chip Sanctuary deal a lot of damage, and so for both Dileira and Stafoo at 4 health, Dileira still at 3, it's going to cause an instantaneous death. So I'll give another quick update on the exciting action we have in front of us. Stafoo is only 6 seconds behind his PB at charge jump. So whether or not Stafoo ends up PBing by the end of this is some just absolutely disgustingly good pace.
I'm moving into Misty Woods here. His pace is not slowing down at all.
No, he is not. On the right side, we see Dileira going for his Terror Break as well. Stafoo decided to make it through the spikes, being able to see what's on his screen, whereas Dileira decided to float through the insta-kill spikes behind his ability menu. It's something that can be spooky even for the more experienced runners like Dileira. But to direct your attention over to the left to our first place player, Stafoo is quick making his way through Misty Woods. Zik, what can you tell us about Misty Woods for anyone who may not know the game as intimately as we do?
So, I'm sure if you've played Ori before, you know that Misty Woods is an ever kind of changing dungeon. You'll be doing a lot of backtracking, going different directions. It's made very easy, though, with all the... I wouldn't say very easy, but it's made very quick with all the abilities we've gained throughout the game. But it still can be a very tricky section for runners, especially if they do not opt to take a lot of safety saves in Misty Woods. A death can be very costly in this section.
That's right. There was a way that I don't remember who, it may have been Roos, one of our other commentators. This tournament has been going for about a week now. We've had a lot of very good commentary, and someone described Misty Woods as an area that isn't really defined by tricks, it's just defined by execution, which is part of what makes it so interesting. There are many areas of the game where your overall time basically comes down to you just need to get Swamp Entry, Sorrow Bash, first try. You need to get your key dupe first try. You just need to not make mistakes. And in this area, it's not about tricks. You just have to zoom as quickly as you can through all these spikes that, although they won't one-shot Stafoo, they will bring him down to 1 health. As you can see, Stafoo did decide to toggle his user interface back on. And speaking of health, Dileira on the right did take a quick death, but Stafoo
taking a very major death there.
Yeah. The reason why that death is so costly is that experienced runners like Stafoo will usually decide to not take any safety saves because they're going to be using all of their energy for additional charge dashes being our fastest way that we currently have to move around the world if you can execute them properly. But the dangerous part is that with no safety saves, you don't have a lot of safety. And so when you die, or if you die like Stafoo did, it can send you all the way back to the climb tree. And that's pretty brutal, especially because remember that neither runner is watching their opponent.
That's right. So that's really, hopefully that doesn't get into his head at all. That's going to give Dileira a nice chance here to catch back up.
That's right. Stafoo does still have a pretty comfortable lead. There is, as always, a question of whether he, knows that. Not that it would maybe affect his play one way or the other. Oh, God.
Oh, that was very close.
Okay, careful, Stafoo. Dodge them. Okay.
Stafoo, a little bit slow there, but gets through nice and safe.
Still better to stay alive, I think. We'll also see if Stafoo makes a safety save before this mini-boss. Very good decision, being on low health. Along with many of the other skills that we get in this run, or abilities, I should say. There are 11 skills. That's part of the All Skills category, but we also get abilities through the ability menu. One of them allows save points to restore 2 health, which means that Stafoo making his save point was back up to 3 health before his mini-boss, but before the save point would have been all the way down to 1, given 4 health and touching a 3 damage spike, which means that if he made the slightest mistake in his mini-boss, it would have killed him immediately and pretty much tied Dileira up. So a very good decision, even from a very veteran runner like Stafoo, to decide to make that safety save and not, take a much, much worse death.
And we'll see if he keeps going for any more safety routes. I mean, him not knowing where Dileira is, he might not know he has the lead he has, so he might try to rush or take some more risky strategies moving forward.
That's right. That's right. He might. But I guess we've still been seeing Stafoo play incredibly well. I would seriously doubt that he's still on PB pace, given that death, but still very, very good run. On the right, Dileira, by the way, in the little, what we like to call the meatball column, I think it was Hobbs who maybe coined that term, was able to do a rocket jump that Stafoo had trouble with twice in a row. So we'll see if it changes the overall outcome, but a nice little move there by Dileira. Meanwhile, on the left, can you tell us just briefly what Stafoo's up to?
So if you saw on the left there, Stafoo did that entire section with his menu open. He was going for a long save anywhere there, where he was going to carry the skill menu all the way through the cave because there's a cutscene skip before this tree. A lot of runners will just save their game before that. You have to save your game before to open the one door, and they'll run through the section, create another save anywhere, and then do it there. But wow, Stafoo with the grenade jump leaving.
That's amazing. Grenade jump is a trick that uses that new skill we just got, which is called light burst, or as we usually call it, light grenade. Along with two other skills, climb and a buffered charge jump while climbing, in order to gain a huge burst of speed. But the tricky thing, as we've mentioned a bunch of times now, but I'm going to say it again because why not? The hard thing about a grenade jump is that you have to press two different buttons one frame apart, and that's, well, just not easy to do. It is arguably a little bit easier on keyboard mouse as opposed to controller, given that on a keyboard you just have so many more options for rebinding. You could bind your charge jump and your grenade key, for example, to be right next to each other. But regardless of how you can or cannot rebind, it's still a hard trick. It's cool to see Stafoo pull it off. Plus, it just looks super cool.
And if you've seen an Ori run before, you know that they're going to have to be going for a grenade jump at the end, so Stafoo just warming himself up.
Totally. Stafoo did take a bit of damage. He's down to 3 health. He should be fine, assuming he can avoid this baneling and not touch the lava with a nice series of charge dashes. Stafoo is going to go ahead and try to burn all of his energy to just get to this door as quickly as possible, because he doesn't need any energy for this door trick that he's coming up to, and then you get all your energy and health refilled when you start the final escape. So he just wants to burn it all to go as fast as possible. So Stafoo's coming up to door attempts. Dileira's made it to light grenade. This is definitely Stafoo's race to lose at this point.
How many attempts do you think Stafoo's going to take here?
First try.
First try?
Stafoo is going to get first try. Yeah, he is.
And he does.
Let's go. Representing my where I live. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, Stafoo's made it to the final escape. The final escape is a very cool area, also a very, very scary area, because you have to perform it pretty much perfectly. Stafoo is sitting at only 5 health, and can you remind everyone why that matters?
So because we did not do the Ginso Tree escape, all of the water is poisonous. And ooh, Dileira on the right taking a interesting death there to the boulder. But as we were saying, the water is also poisonous. So in the escape here, there is a section where you're going to have to go through a section of water. And with 5 health, you have just enough health to get through that water without dying. It can still be very tricky with the movement.
Here we go. Oh no, that's it.
He took the hit.
And that's a hard part. In these escape sequences, they really are a little bit brutal, especially, like, I remember I had a lot of trouble with them on my casual playthrough, because every time you fail an escape, you have to go all the way back to the start. Generally speaking, in Ori, you can't make a save point anywhere you want. You can only make a save point in what the game designates as a safe area, and the game always designates the entirety of escape sequences as unsafe, which means that you do have to restart the whole thing.
Stafoo going for his second attempt here through the water, and he's out.
All right, nice. But we're not out of the woods yet. Stafoo made it through the poison water. He still has to do a grenade jump. Well, he doesn't have to, but he's definitely going to. Did have no trouble with it, the one after light grenade. If he can pull this off first try, he'll save about 35 seconds out of the finale. Even if he takes several attempts, he'll still save time. He's through without a soft
try.
lock.
He gets it. That was very nice.
Very nice. But don't look away. Dileira's taking door-up attempts. Let's see if Dileira can. Well, he can't beat Stafoo, but he can match Stafoo. I believe that was a first try door from Dileira.
It was very excellent. So Dileira also going for the escape here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Double first try, frame perfect, 60 FPS game. Not a very wide window, and both of these very experienced runners just making it look easy. So Stafoo is going to take this this victory. Good job for him. He just has to hold right with Naru and then finish out. So while Stafoo is doing that, we'll wait a moment and get confirmation on Stafoo's final time. Direct your attention over to the right side, where Dileira is not far behind, and it's just going to be showcasing what a cool runner he is, using lots of charge dashes and stomps and charge flames and all kinds of fun things to make it through as quickly as possible. Stafoo did have a death during his escape sequence. Do you think Dileira can do better?
We'll see how this fish section goes right here.
Those fish look to be in good positions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
And Dileira's through.
That was so close.
It was very close.
Stafoo also got second try grenade jump. Can we see Dileira with the first try grenade jump? Heck yeah.
And the first try. Very nice. That was very nice. This is a very close race.
It was, and that was still a very, very good run by Dileira. Comparatively to Stafoo, it was slower, sure, but I mean, that run would have beaten many, many people in this tournament.
Right, especially compared to Dileira's best time. I mean, this is very close.
That's right. So, Zik, I'm going to quick ping SRL and see if our runners, one or both of them, want to do an interview. While I'm doing that, I guess, what are your thoughts if you think back to like the start of this race and the middle and the end? What were some of the highlights to you?
You know, both runners, I think they started off very strong, but Dileira just had a lot of very small mistakes at the beginning that, you know, really compounded at the beginning. And while he made up for it at the end, Stafoo just had a very excellent run, lots of really clean movement throughout, and it really showed in this race.
Okay, well, I had a moment of dead air there as I just wanted to verify our runners are good to go. I do want to give quick updates on the final time. Stafoo's final time was a 32:46, which is actually still slightly better than Dileira's PB, and Dileira's final time was a 34:03, which is within a minute of his PB, which is super, super cool. We are going to bring in both of them for an interview, so here we go. Discord powers. Ho! Okay, I dragged you guys in here unexpectedly.
Yeah, sorry.
Against your will. Congratulations on the win, Stafoo, and nice run as well, Dileira. Ho!
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. That was
I
a lot of
dragged
fun.
you guys
That
in
was
here
certainly a
unexpectedly.
first run of the tournament for me.
Against your will.
But I had a lot of fun doing it.
Congratulations on the win. Yeah, well, I'll direct the first question to you, Stafoo. You were on, I mean, you're a very good runner just overall, but you were on, like, disgusting god pace.
Yeah,
You were
I knew
definitely
the run
ahead.
was dead. I knew the run was dead when I got to Ginso. Like, my hands started shaking so much. I mean, that teleporter room. Oh my god. That was a mess. I'm so glad I killed it there, pretty much.
Do you think that was because of nerves, or was it just because you were on PB pace? And so, I guess still nerves, maybe.
Yeah, nerves just from the PB pace. I think it was like a 12:06 Ginso entry, and I was just like, holy shit. That's way too good. It shouldn't be that good.
Yeah, well, Dileira, to direct the next question to you, how did you feel about your run? Any areas that you thought went particularly well, or areas that you may be looking to improve for next time?
Well, it started like my first match. I was shaky from the beginning. That's why I was already doing weird jumps after wall jump. So I want to improve like my nervousness before a race. But all in all, I was actually okay with this run.
I mean, this is something, I guess if you rewatch the race, you'll hear it. But I mean, that run you had still would have beaten a lot of people in the tournament, just, you know, facing Stafoo. That's hard.
Yeah. It's just like a personal problem of mine is I tend to get angry at myself if I do silly little mistakes, and that drags through the whole run. So basically, I was finished with that run when I had like I thought I would not skip a BRB cutscene actually because it was hella early. I don't know, but that was the point where I was like, nah, I will just try to finish as good as I can.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Zik, do you have some questions for these guys?
Sure. So I know neither of you were watching each other. I know, Stafoo, we were talking about, did your death in Misty Woods affect how you were mentally thinking throughout the run since you didn't know where your opponent was?
So I guess I sort of lied. I keep the Discord live channel updated, so I'm getting the like blitz versus. So I think I knew I had about a minute, so I don't think I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna lose it now. I was thinking, oh, it might be close if I like need to, you know, if I keep getting, you know, infinited here in Misty. So I was like, time to lock it down. That second time through, I was a little safer, I think, on some of the movement. Even though I think I went for meatball strats again and messed it up. Oh man.
But
We were very nervous watching that.
Yeah, I managed to save it. I've never hit that meatball before. I hit the bottom one when I mess it up. I never hit that top one. So the first time I was just like completely flustered. I was like, I don't know what to do. Because I can recover from the bottom one. I've done that before, but I can't recover from the top one, apparently.
Probably safe bet to blame Hobbs. He probably just overcooked the meatballs. Inflated a little bit bigger than usual. So Hobbs, you're personally responsible for the issues that Stafoo had. I just want you to know that if you're listening. Another question for you, Stafoo. Have you always gone for slime genocide in Blackroot Burrows?
No. So I stopped running Ori for a while, unfortunately. I kind of ghosted out on you guys, and I feel bad for that. But I came back right when Sigma posted that update video or something, and then I looked on the Discord and saw he had posted that genocide guide in the strats channel. So I was like, oh, this is the new route. Everyone must be doing this. I didn't realize it was just some like experimental thing, I guess, that he thought up one day and decided to post. So yeah, I just started doing it, and it seems to be all right, I think.
I think that was just Sigma bored one day. It's like, how can I make BRB even worse? And somehow he found a way. So thank you for that, Sigma. Dileira, I think I'll ask you another question. So you have 2 out of your 3 matches done out of Sunken Glades, out of your group, right?
Yes.
You've won 1, and now you've lost 1, although still putting on a really good performance, even with the loss. What is your overall goal for this tournament, if you have one? Like, is there a particular place you want to advance to, or get out of groups, or anything like that?
That's actually hard to say, because like in general, I just want to go as far as I can, obviously. Try to have as much fun as I can. And for the group stage, my goal is to hit the winners bracket.
I like it.
Top 2 spot, one of the like top 1 is probably gone, but yeah.
So I think I'll throw to you, and then I have 2 more questions since we did. Both of you were too fast. I'm trying to kill some time so we don't have to have too much of an intermission before our next match. But Zik, I'll ask if you have another question or 2, and then I have some other quick, easy questions.
Sure. So, Dileira, I know your time was very close to your personal best time. Is there anywhere you think, you could see some improvement for your next match, or you pretty happy overall?
I'm happy with this time, actually, for a race match, yes.
It was very excellent for a race.
I don't know if you know, but I have no idea what my time is while I'm doing a run, so I don't know exactly where I lost much time. I might think of something, but I'm not really sure. I have to rewatch because I can't see my timer when I'm running.
Right, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question to each of you. Dileira, I'm going to start with you. You have been with Ori since November 2017. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, like end of November, yeah.
Yeah, so not too long at this point. What is your practice strategy? Or I guess like when you were learning Ori, did you opt for just full runs all the time? Did you do a lot of individual segment practice? What's your preferred strategy there?
I mostly do IELTS, like for practice only. When I say like, okay, I want to do attempts today, I'm sitting down and do like 2 or 3 hours of IELTS of everything I can get to, and then I just start doing runs. That's basically my practice.
Cool. I think that's a good strategy. I kind of do something similar, I think. And Stafoo, I'll direct the last question at you. You do slime genocide. Are there any other slimes that you would like to genocide in the Forest of Nibel?
Any other slimes? No slimes in particular. I guess I'm going to answer a question that you didn't ask. I wish you would what my goals are for the tournament, and that is I'm going to knock Elo out.
Oh man. You heard it here first.
He knocked me out in the last tournament, so that's my goal, is to get revenge in this tournament. And I don't think I'm quite there yet. I need to put some practice in, but I just want everyone to know that when it happens, it started here.
Oh man. I love it. I love it. We're setting up the rivalry. I really hope that you guys get to duke it out. That'd be so cool.
Oh, please fix the bracket.
You just have to get the exact race times you need to just make sure that all the math works out.
I'll have to go do some math and figure out exactly how to finish.
Well, Zik, any final questions from you before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good over here.
Okay, cool. Well, congrats, Stafoo, on your victory. Nice job by Dileira, and thank you both of you for interviewing with us as well. That was fun.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Yep.
So
Thanks
much
as
for
well.
the commentary, and thanks for everyone behind the scenes. That was a lot of fun. It's good to be back in the tournament.
Yeah, totally. Pleasure commentating with you as well, Zik.
It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
All right, but don't go anywhere. We have another match coming up on Speed Gaming in just about 15 minutes. That match is going to be Shed versus Sky, and I'll let the commentator share that match, tell you more about them. But stick around. We have a whole bunch of Ori matches today, so we'll see you real soon.